Okay, let's talk stereos for a minute. I haven't made a video about stereo equipment in a while, and one of my subscribers asked me, hey man, could you make one showing all your stuff? And I thought, why not? Because I love my stereos. And I wanted to start off with this modular unit that I just put together, which contains 80s and 90s components, and go over a few points for people who are looking to build an older stereo system without getting stuck with a bunch of messed up capacitors and dirty pots, which is when you turn a knob and it goes crackle, crackle, crackle. Now, what I have right here is something that I put together the other day, and I'm pretty stoked on it, actually. It works well. Somebody gave me this Sansui. It is an AU or an A3300. You see, this is the problem. I don't have a I need a light to see what these actually are. Can't see them right now. So here we go. This is a Sansui A3100 amplifier, and it's a very simple amplifier. I think it's 200 watts. It's from the 80s, I think 83 or something, as well as this little Kenwood down here, this little GE 1100, which I made a video about the other day. The cool thing about this, that I really like about this, is you can push this button here, and it turns on this thing, which when you have the sound up, it's it gives it some really weird effects. But I turn that off, and I usually leave that off. So right now we have the LP channel here, which is my Yamaha P750. Let me turn it down a little bit. The Yamaha P750 is my standby turntable. It's my favorite. It's very simple. It's got a straight tone arm and a nice platter on it. It's decently heavy. It does its, it suits its purpose, serves its purpose. What really matters on a turntable is, of course, the weight of the platter, also the tone arm, but the needle. The needle is really crucial. I think I have an old one I had on my DJ turntables from here, but I think it's a Stanton tip. But anyway, so that's the, let me move here, turn this off for a second. So right now we're playing a CD. Believe me, this is going to get more exciting because I have all these awesome receivers over here to show you. So right now we've got the turntable on. If you switch it to here, then I have this piece of crap Sony tuner hooked up. This is something I never use, is tuners, because I don't care about radio. I never listen to radio. But since I got that free along with these two, I thought I would hook them up. So if you move on, you can go to, boom. This takes you to the CD player. The CD player I'm using here is a Pioneer Elite. And these are actually, believe it or not, like close to $1,000 or something when they came out. Just ridiculous price. I got this at Goodwill for like $10. It's got a DVD player and a combined USB input, so you can like put your USB sticks in there and play music. This is a what is it called? A DV49AV. It's a really good CD player. So I don't really play CDs. Most people use their computers anyway. But the problem is that a lot of CD players really aren't dedicated, don't have quality lasers, and tend to skip a lot. So here we've just got the tuner and CD player. Then here we've got the tape player, which I can switch to. And what we're playing in the tape player right now this tape player is freaking amazing. I don't want to get copyright, so this is Moody Blues. The album cover is To Our Children's Children's Children. But I believe the album in there is A Question of Balance. So just so you know, this album is from something like, I think it's 1965 or something like that. 1960-ish. So this is an over 50-year-old tape. And it sounds just as good as the day, well, at least close to the day that it was bought. Cassette tapes really hold their sound. People think that they're total crap and they get warbly, which is true because I grew up with cassette tapes. It was a major part of my life. So that's that unit. And then we also have the final input, which is a auxiliary type input, and that is what I use for, like, I have a little 1/4-inch input for music and phone. So in other words, all of the plugs on the back of that amplifier are used, which is rare for me. And it does have a turntable hookup, which is something a lot of stereos don't have these days. And this is why I like vintage stereos. They tend to have an LP input, which you can get an adapter for modern stereos, so you can put an LP in. But, close this up. That album was Prof, and I actually bought it the other day online. I ordered a pre-order, and I got it in the mail with a little letter. Thanks for making the official release of Powderhorn Suites possible. We appreciate the shit out of you. Make sure to subscribe to Prof's YouTube channel for more videos. And remember, Pookie Baby loves you. And I just love it when people, make things personalized. Came with some stickers and postcards and even some Prof rolling papers. I just thought that was cool as hell. And this here is Spangle. I ordered a couple copies of this, which is a triple LP gatefold cover. Absolutely gorgeous colored vinyl. But we're not talking about vinyl here. We're talking about stereos. So here's what you have, your example of just some standard Yamaha stereo, and completely useless things like 5-disc CD changers, which nobody ever uses anymore. A Sherwood guess it would be, it colors sound. It's like a processor, so it has all these different effects on it. I don't use any of this stuff. Got a VCR, Yamaha home deck, and this is a really nice Sansui 771, which is actually a highly desirable unit. But the lights don't turn on. I need to work on that. And I'm going to get to this in just a second. The speakers I use here, these are some of my favorite speakers. We've got the SP2500X, which is a 5-way speaker. It's got a 12 and 2 4s and then 2 horn tweeters. It sounds amazing. It's got a soft, natural, and clear setting on it. But it's not hooked up right now because I'm actually using these. These are Venturi. I think they're not B52s, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm going to get over to here. This is my pile of vintage gear that I wanted to share. Right now we have, this is just an Akai tuner, which is not worth much, but, collectors love tuners. Let me turn off the light. There you go. So you got the Akai tuner. Right below it, we've got a Technics tape deck, an M205. It's a pretty decent tape deck, nothing great. I'm just going to go back here for a minute. It's nothing like this thing. Now, this is an Onkyo. Turn on the light here again. An Onkyo Integra TA2044. And you can still find these tape decks for sale online, but they're going to cost you a couple $100. And yes, having a good tape deck really makes all the difference. I mean, I've had so many tapes eaten, and I acquired this whole box of Grateful Dead bootlegs the other day, which is, definitely worth having a decent tape player for. But over here, God, I love that color. I love that view. Here we have a Yamaha natural sound amplifier. It's a CA6102. This was a phenomenal amplifier. I've had issues with a couple outputs on it. As most of these amps get old, they need the capacitors fixed and a whole bunch of crap that I'm not familiar with, which I should have them repaired. This is a model 4415 by Marantz. It's a Quadrail 4 receiver, which is one of the quadraphonic receivers, which is, I love these things. They have so many different settings on them, which I have another one down here. This is the one I picked up recently. It's a QRX 5500A. When I say recently, I mean it was about a year ago. It was in a junk pile. My sister's brother-in-law, or brother, I think it was uncle, he had this thing just out in a junk pile, and he said, "Hey, do you want it?" And I said, "Hell yeah, it looks like it needs a couple lights fixed and whatnot, but it works." And then we have the last two, which are my Pioneers. Pioneers XX737 and a Pioneer SX750. So it's a 750 and a 737, which are totally different looking units. But these are some of the best sounding receiver amplifiers that I've ever used in my life. They don't color the sound, but it's very warm. And when I say warm, I mean it's something undefinable. If you get into the stereo gear and the nerds that talk about it, I'm one of them. People go on and on and on about low end and harmonic distortion and the bass response and frequency. None of that really means anything to the average consumer. What matters is this: you plug your stuff into it, you run it to your speakers, and you listen, and you see if it sounds good to you. Like my oldest son and I were just talking about this. He wants a couple specific speakers because, Jerry Garcia used them and they have a certain tone. And I was telling him that it doesn't matter what speakers you use if you don't have the root source. So as long as you have the root source, you can get all the best speakers you want. Source is just the material. If you're listening to MP3s all day, you probably don't care about any of this. But if you're listening to LPs, and you're listening to cassettes, or you're listening to FLAC files, which is lossless audio files, and you have really good speakers, which are the most important thing, then maybe it's worth it for you. Now, these are not great speakers. You can buy these for $200, $250. I got them at Goodwill for $20, but they sound good to me. And the ear shape plays the biggest role. And besides, there's two things that play the biggest role in how you hear sound. One of them is the shape of your ear. Two of them is your perspective. I guess the third is your room. So if you're in a certain room and it doesn't sound right, move to a different room. Set up your stereo in a different area. But it's really hard to get just the right sound that we like. These are all going to be for sale because I'm actually I'm over my vintage obsession. It's been a while. And so I also, these little speakers that you can get these at Goodwill. And I got all of these almost at Goodwill for, like $20-$25. In the old days, you can't find them anymore. The things like this, like a little Klipsch, just a speaker for an iPod, you can find those for like $5 because nobody uses the old iPod, fitting anymore. So you hook those up with an auxiliary cable and you have amazing sound from a small speaker. Just like a video I made about these a while back. I found these at Goodwill in the box. They're called Minimus 7s. And there's my Jensen Alnico. These are amazing little speakers. They even have a removable grill. You can see they've got a little dome tweeter and a little 3-inch speaker. They're beautiful. They're really, really nice, and they sound amazing. So you can get big sound from small units. These days, everything's made for shit. I could go on probably about the 70s, and when these stereos were made, you're looking at a very small profit margin. Today's stuff's made for, say, $50 and they sell it for $500, right? Back then, they might spend $250 making a unit to get, $150 out of it because they were competing. They were competing for a market that was kind of fresh. Stereos were new. They moved into stereo from mono. Then they moved into quadraphonic. And nowadays, they have other things like, surround sound stereos, which are pretty much garbage, which I'll show you next. This, for example, is another one of those Yamaha stereo processors. It's actually a desirable unit, but I don't know why, because it colors the sound. But over here we have, say, an Onkyo Integra. This is considered, I don't know, it's a flagship type model, and I think this opens. Let me see. Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. I'm not really looking to show off this thing because it's actually kind of sad. I couldn't get it to work. Oh, doesn't matter. Anyway, it's a really good unit, and I had it working for like one day, and then it took a crap, which is what a lot of these units do. We've got this Denon right here. What is this? An AVR 2802, and then an Onkyo up here. They're all just stereos. I mean, there's nothing special about them. They don't sound great. They're just okay. They work. And I've got a Newmark turntable over here I got for like $10 at Goodwill. But so that's about it. That's my stereo equipment. I'm also a musician, so I have my bass guitar, my eMac, freaking Mackie 808M, my son's guitar pedals. We've got another karaoke CD player, a Boss BR 1180, and my crappy keyboards. So this is the last thing I guess I had sitting here, which is a CD player from the 80s. These actually still sell for over $100. It's a CDB 260. And back in the day, CD players were made with good quality and they were expensive. And then they got cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So that's about it. I think I've shared my stereo equipment with you, and I hope you've enjoyed. I'm not big on fancy plugs and whatnot. I just do whatever works and whatever sounds good. So, the last thing I wanted to note with these little Denons that I found at Goodwill for like $5, $7, $10. I think one was 15. These are some of the greatest little bookshelf stereos I've ever found. They are so awesome sounding. It's unbelievable. And this is the, what is it? Wait, better get a light here. This is the UD M30. And the other one is the UD M3, it looks like. So they're about the same unit. Definitely well worth the investment if you can find one cheap. They have such a low rate of harmonic distortion or fuzz or buzz. They are just crystal clear, and I really enjoyed them. So thanks for coming along. And yeah, I'll talk to y'all next time. Be well.